Thank you very much, and good afternoon, good evening, and good morning to all of you. I feel so much honored to be a part of this session today and to also be speaking to you all. I'm really grateful for the opportunity, and also following Father Hans Zollner is really a bar set really high, but I hope I'm able to present from an organizational perspective. I'll start by introducing myself and a trigger warning to all of you who have been affected as well. If you don't feel safe enough to continue with the conversation, you can always reach out to Sigrid and she'll be able to support you in her capacity. I'm a survivor of childhood sexual violence. I like starting my introduction in that way because however much I went through the ordeal that I did, I was still able to emerge, and that led to the formation of my organization, Totia Platform. I'm currently a mother of two. My youngest is sleeping, and if he joins us, I apologize. But I believe, you'll be able to receive him in the presentation. He will also present his part if he's able to. To leave the jokes aside, I've been a part of an organization that is advocating for survivors of sexual violence for now 8 years, and that is both in Totia and also in Ending Clergy Abuse. As a member of Ending Clergy Abuse, I serve on the board as the vice president of the board of Ending Clergy Abuse, ECA, which I will be referring to as. And for Totia Platform, I'm the founder and still the executive director. So I manage the administrative work that comes along with that. Today's presentation, I'll be giving you perspectives mostly on organization as a global entity of ECA, and also referring to my organization because, like Madame Sigrid has said, ECA is really a global entity that has members in all over the continent, and we have about 25 countries in representation. And so that means we have different cultures, we have different laws, we have different ways in which we present ourselves as well. And so, and once in a while, we always gather, at least once, whenever funds are available, we gather as an organization and meet each and everybody. And this has been successful through safeguarding, which has been already introduced. The topic has been introduced, what it means and all that, so I'll not go through that. I would love to present my slides if that's okay. Okay. Technology. So I'm trying to see how to share. Okay.
Yes, we can see your presentation now.
All right. So why safeguarding really matters as a member of ECA?
Sorry to interrupt you. Maybe you could start the slideshow presentation.
Is that on? Okay.
Yes, now it is on. Perfect.
Thank you very much for this, for looking at that. So I will start by posing a question. Why do you think safeguarding really matters? And also, as the discussion goes on, I want you to have in mind what you believe as an individual, as an organization, and well as KOLPING, what you believe is the number one human need, desire, or want in general. And this, I'll share as well the perspectives of ECA and of Totia Platform throughout the presentation. When we started Totia, we became members of ECA. We started as member organization of ECA. So ECA we looked at ECA as our guide, and to be able to do that, we needed safeguarding policies. ECA was able to share with us templates, and of course, as an administrator in my organization, I signed off and presented it to the team. By then, we were only a team of 5 members, but we had already trained community members, and we had about 20 community members at that time. And all these were representatives of TOTIA. But because we are carrying the image of ECA, we also needed to represent the values of ECA in how we operated. In some of those policy packages that came, we had the code of conduct, how to behave as members of ECA. We had the child safeguarding policies because we are working directly with children, youth, and vulnerable adults in the areas of child sexual violence. And we had many others, how to handle funds and how to mitigate cases of violence, or when one of us has been accused of causing harm to anyone. However, like Father Hans Zollner had said, many organizations have these templates, and we check them and we proudly present them to our donors, and that is exactly what we did as TOTIA. We were able to sign it in order to get funds, and we were also able to present to other potential donors that yes, we have safeguarding policies, but however, we were not implementing them. And so one time we had a situation where one of our community volunteers was accused of sexual harassment when he was doing his community outreach activities. As an organization and as the head of the organization, I panicked. And because I wanted to protect my organization, I encouraged every staff member to stay away from the person who has been accused. We did our investigations, but we failed to contact the accused because we had already deemed him guilty. And so we believed the person who had raised the issue. As we went on, we forgot that we already had safeguarding guidance. And because I read through and didn't really pay attention or relate to them according to the laws of Uganda, I based my judgment upon a person who had come to me and reported. As well as being a survivor myself, I believed so fast and put all the negative blame to the accused. We carried basically baseline investigation. We talked to the family of the accuser. We talked to the family, the friends, whichever people that the person named, the accuser named, we talked to, and they corroborated the story. So in the end, without even contacting or talking to him, we in the end deemed him guilty. He had been a very good person in the community, in our community engagements, gathering communities so that we can talk about what sexual violence is, what we normally do, how to prevent, how to report, and what so on. And he has always been an active member. With no funds given to him in compensation because he came in as a volunteer, we did not respect him enough or treated him with dignity that he deserved. I'm speaking because after 1 year, we got to discover that actually the person who accused him was lying because she wanted her boyfriend to be brought out of jail, and he was jailed because of the gentleman that was working with us. Now, this is a 15-year-old who was so actively in love with a 28-year-old man and who had to be arrested for, in our laws, defilement. What came to us after so many months, or after 1 year basically, is when we discovered the truth. We could not find him anymore to even apologize. And that was the first thing that we needed to do. We wanted basically to protect the name of TOTIA We are first of all in communities saying we have zero tolerance to sexual violence, sexual harassment, and if you're carrying the name of Totia, and in this case also representing ECA, you needed to behave a certain way. We forgot that we had policies or guidelines in place because we had never looked at them, only signed. And every time I would look at the policies is only when I'm giving it to a certain donor so that we are able to get funds. This led to us losing a very vibrant member of our organization, and we have never gone back to his community to carry out awarenesses because he was never there to help us organize them. So all that meant human resource lost for us, and also we failed to reach and get trust from the community that he was serving. This brought us to the realization, after we had now started the work of safeguarding more prominently, after I had engaged in ECA activities that required us to basically sign code of conduct in every retreat or face-to-face interaction that we were gathering in, and that was accordance to that particular event that we were attending. And I kept on wondering why I was made to sign all the time that I traveled for ECA activities. Why am I signing this code of conduct? But what even impressed me the most was, as we did the gatherings, we went through the rules of how we were going to behave in this event. If the event was for 3 days, we needed to discover how are we going to relate, which is something that Father Hans Zollner also pointed out, safe relations and safe spaces. We needed to create the environment to make it as safe as possible, since we are from different cultures, and what it really meant. If in my culture we greet with a hug, does it mean that in another person's culture I can easily go and hug you without that being offensive? So with our victim, we did not trust him enough, or we did not give him the protection that he needed. One thing we failed to as well do was provide the dignity that he needed to at least reach out and tell him, or even hear from his side. We chose our side. I chose our side as Totia because I was protecting the name of the organization, and also because I'm a survivor of childhood sexual violence. So that alone covered my judgment and made me deem the other person guilty. Whether accused or not accused, ECA has always taken it a step further to investigate all cases, interviewing both sides, and some cases bringing in external experts to take over the investigation and to make judgment based on that. That is now something that we've also brought into practice in our organization of Totia Platform. We believe safeguarding means trusting, that for our victims means a safe space where they can trust, they can feel they are protected, and of course, no backlash or repercussion for reporting. Safeguarding to me means that it doesn't mean that if we have all these policies outlined and the guidelines and all that, that there is no harm going to occur. Harm will always occur, but how we mitigate that is how best we serve both the survivor, the community, and anybody else that is coming into interaction with Totia and with ECA. For the perspective of an organization, what we have now seen with everyday reviewing of the policies, we have seen that we have fewer cases that are being actually, or fewer incidences, because we go through year trainings of how our safeguarding policies are going with our staff and our community volunteers. Every single year when we do our staff retreats, we make sure that these topic is brought up. We get to hear from everybody what happens in their different communities. In Uganda, we have a vast culture that everybody else has a way they behave. So as we bring that into perspective, we encourage all our staff and volunteers as well to consider back home their cultures, how they behave. And so we have tried as much as we can to put into consideration that we value as well the laws in Uganda. ECA has safeguarding policies that are created based on the laws of the US because that is where ECA is registered as an organization. And so most of the safeguarding guidelines and templates are based on the US laws, but it has a flexibility that we can adapt to it based on our cultures. And that also informed how we created our safeguarding policies, the child protection, where for sexual harassment in the US, you find out that somebody might not serve time, but in Uganda, it is a requirement that you report such a case to police, and the police investigates, and if found guilty, they have to serve time depending on the crime. What we have learned is to adapt the safeguarding policies as ECA has written them to different cultures and different countries. And we have provided a platform which has a flexibility that you can use online or even send an email to a targeted group of people whom we have designated as safeguarding keepers. So this committee was formed as in a larger group, and everybody else's culture and language is represented. That is in the organization of ECA. So we guarantee that there is always investigation, and if it means recruiting an external body to carry out investigations of crime. One thing that failed us as TOTIA as well when we started was having clear definitions of what we meant when we talked about abuse, sexual violence, defilement, assault, harassment, fraud, physical abuse, clearly defining them based on the laws of my country and based on the understanding of the culture that we were working in. And this has enabled us to continuously, of course, carry out staff trainings and reviewing and updating our policies as they move along. Well, because of the growing and the changes that we see every single time, and now with AI, we have to evaluate what does this mean and how does it relate to our culture. And we stand on what guides us as ECA is the idea or the number one rule with the question that I asked before, what do you think the number one need is? We are talking about safeguarding. And for our understanding, it means safety. Everybody, everyone in different cultures, every part of the world, whether rich or poor, values safety. When you're safe, you're relaxed. And when you're relaxed, you're able to achieve even more. But what guides us as well in formulating of our policies and our values is understanding that nobody gets harmed when they come into contact or interacts with the organization. Be it the staff members that are working daily in our organizations, be it the community members that we serve, even the people, or for us, we call them our customers or our service providers and our suppliers. Even if they come once in a while in contact with the organization, is there a guarantee of protection from harm in any way? And if harm has occurred, what processes or procedures do we have in place to mitigate? Considering that we want our victims, we want the victims of the person or the person who is reporting the case to feel protected, to trust us enough to be able to say that I was abused when I did this and that, and to clearly define what that abuse is. And to come to a conclusion, we also have in time been able to review policies of other organizations, and we help to formulate and also train their staff in terms of policy, how to write it, putting in number one in our heads the values of the organizations. Now, as a KOLPING family, each organization or each representative has their own values as different organizations. TOTIA has different values from ECA, but we have an objective that is to support any victim to access justice. And with the number one value in mind, it helps you to understand how to formulate what policies. If you're working with children, then you're going to think about policies of child protection. And for us, when it comes to AI, we are not yet there, but we try not to put images of our survivors online in any way. Thank you very much for listening, and have a wonderful time during the session.